We see moms kind of all over the area.
Coming up tonight, a new report reveals an increasing number of what is called maternity deserts across Nebraska, but many disagree.
First of all, not every situation is going to result in violence.
Plus, a look at how mental health professionals train for risky situations. And in our top story, a state official talks about what could have prevented the death of an inmate.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. The inmate at York Women's Prison died of cervical cancer early last year.
A report was made and is now shining a light on how the Department of Corrections tracks health care for inmates. Channel 8's Veronica Barreto joins us live with more. Veronica?
Some serious findings were revealed in an investigation on an inmate's death at the Nebraska Correction Center for Women that happened back in 2021. I talked to the Inspector General of Corrections and he talks about the findings. A report from the Office of Inspector General of Corrections says the death of 40-year-old Nicole Wetherell could have been prevented if she would have been provided proper preventative care. The report says she was diagnosed with cervical cancer in late 2019, 9 years after undergoing her first pap smear.
And we don't fault anybody from the prison where she was at, who are providing the medical care, because what we found was that the Department of Corrections actually didn't have any way for the medical staff there to track preventative measures.
Cervical cancer, if detected on time, is nearly 100% treatable. The Federal Office on Women's Health recommends that women ages 30 through 65 receive a pap smear test every 3 years. Wetherell went 9 years between pap smear tests. By the time she died, cancer had spread to her brain, lungs, kidneys, and liver. The investigation revealed that the Department of Corrections has not followed a statute signed in 2015 by the Nebraska legislature. State law requires the agency to establish an electronic health record system.
We have over 5,000 people in the correction system who get a great deal of medical care. And when you go out to those facilities, what you see are these paper files. There's a picture in our report of these paper files, and they have to move with the individual. And that's just not an efficient way of providing medical care to people.
Wetherell was serving life in York's women's prison for her role in a man's stabbing death. She entered the system when she was 18 years old. The OIG report says she had then become a leader and received an associate's degree through a York College program. In 2018, she delivered a TEDx talk to fellow inmates and staff on a letter she wrote to herself and hoped served as inspiration for others.
Viktor Frankl said, "When we can no longer change our situations, we're challenged to change ourselves."
The ACLU of Nebraska say they've been monitoring the conditions of the state's prisons and found that the standard of health care was not adequate.
Even though people are in prison, they are entitled to a certain standard of care. It doesn't have to be the best healthcare system that people don't even have outside the prison systems, but it should be something that's standard, something that the community expects.
After her autopsy, a pathologist reported Wetherell's cancer was so profound, her female organs were not able to be identified. The OIG says if the Department of Corrections does not implement an electronic record system by 2025, they should stop the process and request funds to purchase one from an outside vendor.
All right, Veronica, thank you for that report. The March of Dimes is claiming many Nebraskans live in what they call a maternity desert.
Their graphic right here shows a large swath of Nebraska existing without maternal care. That's where you see the red dots here. They classify that as a place without access to a birth center, an obstetrician, a gynecologist, or a certified nurse midwife. York County is classified as one of those counties, but one of their directors isn't sure why.
We see moms kind of all over the area. I mean, we've got moms from Gresham, Stromsburg, Seward, Henderson, Aurora, Geneva. We also are attached to the OR, so for surgery, C-sections, it's an easy way for moms to get over there if we're in an emergency situation. But we can handle a lot more than I think people think we can.
The OB unit at York General is actually growing with a new hire on the way. The hospital provides a variety of services for new and expecting moms, including a new lactation center that has served nearly 200 women this year alone. Mental health professionals and law enforcement were at UNL today taking part in a risk assessment workshop.
That's right. The goal is to increase the confidence of first responders and mental health experts when dealing with risky situations. They also learned about signs of mental distress that could be causing someone to act violently.
First of all, not every situation is going to result in violence. We learn about the situations where we need to focus our efforts versus treating everything like it's a risky situation.
UNL says these trainings are very important to make sure responders communicate and act properly during delicate and high-risk situations. A local youth nonprofit leader faced the chamber today at the Lincoln Country Club.
Mike Smith, co-founder of Rabble Mill, was the guest speaker. The Rabble Mill houses 3 programs for youth: the Bay, Skate for Change, and Rabble Media. Today, Mike spoke about the Bay and the new high school for juniors and seniors called Bay High.
We're teaching the same classes that you can take at any other school. It's the environment and the access to technology that kids have in our space. And so we're able to make your photo and video and audio and podcasting classes really come alive. And so I think it's the immersive deep dive that students get into the technology that gets them excited. Plus it's the change of environment. You get to get out of your school, you get to go to a cool place and be around like-minded students. And I think the small, intimate environment really plays well to a lot of students' learning styles.
Bay High is like a regular public school and it's free for students. The goal is to get juniors and seniors ready for college or the workforce. Mike said Bay High students leave the school ready to work and have great ideas. They just need a chance for a professional showcase. Kids headed to class were encouraged to roll or walk on their commute today.
Lincoln Public Schools joined the Walk, Bike, and Roll to School program today, encouraging students to build healthy habits. On top of health, the program promotes cleaner means of travel.
We, of course, want to encourage any means of alternative transportation that doesn't involve a car, emissions, cutting down on fuel consumption. So it's a great way to help the environment, help our students get active in the morning, and also cut down on school traffic. So it's really a win-win across a lot of different interests.
The program also highlights needs for improvements on sidewalks and streets. LPS plans to hold more events like this one, maybe making it a monthly thing. An update now out of CHI Health. They're now admitting that their service disruption was a cyber attack.
Their parent company, Common Spirit, shared the update. They say the ransomware attack has been disrupting patient services in recent days. Since the attack, they've worked to keep their hospitals running while also investigating what happened. They're working to restore their systems to full capacity, but it's still unclear if patient data was breached as part of the attack.
Let's take a minute now and talk to Rusty, get your first forecast. And even though we had some of that rain, a lot of what's going on tonight?
We've got the potential for some cooler temperatures than we've had over the recent memory. In fact, it's about 25 degrees cooler now than it was 24 hours ago. But satellite and radar is quiet. After all that precipitation we had last night, it's a very quiet night. Allocam at South 21st and L Street showing just not much going on, really. Just a nice night with temperatures in the 50s for most of us. 49 in Grand Island, 50 in Broken Bow and Lincoln, 51 in Hebron, 42 in Holdridge, one of the cooler spots. But this is a lot colder than it was yesterday at this time, by 15 to 25 degrees colder for central and eastern Nebraska. So obviously that cold front was doing its job. Right now the wind speeds are a lot less than they were earlier today, but they are going to pick back up tomorrow. By about noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, wind gusts 40 to 45 miles per hour going to be possible. So be prepared for another very windy day tomorrow. Here's what it looks like for your Thursday. 44 degrees to start your day, a cool start. Then that wind picks up, 56 by noon, and only into the lower 60s with that northwest wind at 15 to 35, gusting to 45 miles per hour by tomorrow afternoon. So we'll talk more about the wind, the cooler temperatures, and if there's any more precipitation in the forecast in a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Rusty. Well, it's the third straight month the number has come down, but it remains all too high. We're talking about September's wholesale level of inflation. It fell from August, but it's still way up from last year.
In September, that number was 8.5%. Though that's down from the last 2 months, the Producer Price Index rose by nearly 0.5%, with the cost of food rising up to 16%. The rise is largely due to an increase in hotel room costs and other services. The Federal Reserve is expected to raise interest levels once again next month in the fight against inflation. And the City of Lincoln is offering to pay for up to a year's worth of utility bills for some local small businesses.
Channel 8's Mackenzie Johnson has more on who qualifies and how to apply. Mackenzie?
The City of Lincoln, Lincoln Electric System, and Lincoln Water System are working together to cover $1.5 million in utility bills. The application just opened today, and the money is awarded on a first-come, first-served basis. To qualify, the businesses must have fewer than 50 employees and fall within the qualified census tracts, which includes downtown, North Lincoln, and the Union College Business District. Lincoln Transportation and Utilities Director Liz Elliott says they're hoping this will provide some relief for small business owners who are affected by the pandemic.
We're hopeful to make sure they can keep pulling through because we're not quite there yet. And this will just ensure that they can continue to thrive and do well in our community. We're really excited to be able to have this opportunity and to be able to partner with our small businesses. And ultimately, the entire community is going to benefit from it. So we're excited to be part of that and to be able to help the people that need it.
Grace Wilnard with the Mayor's Office says they've already had around 50 businesses apply. They predicted they can assist around 200 small businesses for all of 2023.
These businesses don't have to worry about one or two of their bills. And so maybe coming into the holidays, they can hire another person. They can expand their store hours. They can do some, let's say, maintenance work that they've been putting off because they just didn't have those extra dollars to do that.
The application will stay open until the money is all allocated, but the city expects it to close early next week. The only paperwork you need to apply is a copy of current LES and water bills, as well as a W-9 form. You can visit our website, klkntv.com, to find the link to the application.
All right, Mackenzie, thank you.